pregnancy. We chose her name but kept it quiet. Her first name is after my husband's late mom, and her middle name is my favorite flower. The name caused a stir with my husband's family because since age 8, he's had a stepmom. And not only did he honor his mom, but so did his brother when he had a son, by giving a male sort of equivalent of their mom's name. And this has upset their stepmom because they have never bonded with her or considered her their mom, and she feels disrespected and hurt. Then Wednesday, we had a neighbor stop by while my husband's family was visiting the baby, and she asked about the name choice, and I told her she was named after my husband's mom. Neighbor said it was lovely and left. And then my husband's dad and stepmom turned on me for saying that, without acknowledging that he had another mom and stepmom, and making her feel even more looked over. My husband told them he only has one mother, and that they need to get over it and they should apologize to me or leave. It kind of blew up from there. My husband's half and step-siblings are all upset too that I would say that in front of stepmom. Pretty much everyone there is mad except my husband and his brother, who is furious that stepmom was referred to as their mom/other mom. I guess I just feel a little bad because I know my husband and his brother could never find a way to let their stepmom in, and it's hurt her. But I also see how much they love their mom, and they're good people who have happy lives. This has just been a thing for 20 years now, and I wonder if I was insensitive. But I also know that in my husband and brother-in-law's hearts, their mom is their only mom and maternal figure, and I was respecting their feelings on it. I guess I'm just feeling a little, I don't know, uncertain? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. The level of self-absorption required to complain that a child was named after its late grandmother rather than you is freaking staggering. You're absolutely not the a-hole. Your baby's grandfather and step-grandmother really need to get it together though, because they are a-holes. Right? Seems pretty clear why the sons haven't developed a relationship of any depth with stepmom. But what do I know? Not an a-hole considering you were only telling the truth. It's not your fault your husband never bonded with a stepmom. And why would you just straight up lie to your neighbor when asked a harmless question? It's been 20 years. I think she needs to just let it go because obviously things aren't going to change, and you can't make someone feel a certain way just because you want it to be that way. That is stepmom wanting stepsons to acknowledge her as mom. Did stepmom think you would name your child after her at all? Because that would be totally messed up. I think she thought we would either forgo an honor name or use all grandmothers, of which she would be included herself, so that she could be honored in some way alongside. I think at the back of it all, she just wants to feel like they have finally started to love her. But like you said, at some point, she might just need to accept it's not happening. Ridiculous. In my opinion, parents have the right to name their kid whoever they want, and everyone else can shut up. Unless someone plans on naming the kid John Doe or something else equally terrible. I'd say if they didn't bond, then why? Was she not the type of mom they wanted? So if she's upset, maybe she should evaluate what she did or didn't do that made the stepkids not bond with her. But after 20 years, I don't think it's going to be repairable. She could start by not being butthurt about the names. I laughed at finally starting to love her because in order for that to happen, she obviously needs to make a behavioral change. They won't just magically love her one day. They didn't want another mom at all. They view their mom was the only person who could ever have that role. And I don't know if at first she and their dad focused too much on being mom/dad number 2 to their respective stepkids. But while her kids were happy my father-in-law wanted to be their dad, my husband and his brother were not happy she wanted to be their mom. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for calling the cops on my mother-in-law? My mother-in-law has recently divorced my father-in-law, and she doesn't have a way to survive. All of her kids and their spouses have been giving her money, but she claims it isn't enough. My father-in-law was pretty loaded, so I guess she was permanently used to the rich lifestyle. Recently, my wife invited her over, and while I was preoccupied, she took my ring. This ring was my father's ring, and I cherish this ring a lot. It would be terrible if I lost the ring. I thought I just misplaced it, but I couldn't find it anywhere. The next time my wife had a video call with her mother, I saw the ring in the background. I went straight to my mother-in-law's house and asked for my ring back. She tried to play dumb, but I could literally see the ring behind her. She wasn't that tall, so I don't know why she even tried hiding it. I called the cops when she refused, with a detailed description of the ring, and promptly left. I don't know what the cops did because I wasn't there, but my in-laws aren't too happy. They're pretty pissed off that I handled the situation by calling the cops, instead of checking to make sure it was actually the ring, but I know what I saw. I've had a ring for years, and I know what it looks like. My in-laws are calling me all kinds of names. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Go full force. No ring equals no money ever. Never allowed in your home again. Never see grandkids if you have any. Tell your wife she gets it back, or maybe you will consider therapy instead of divorce. Not okay. Go scorched earth. Yes, no ring, no nothing. She can't just steal things. Did you get it back? Not the a-hole. I did. Like from the cops or your mother-in-law? Obviously, if she had your ring, you're not the a-hole. And she could have avoided a phone call to the cops by giving it back. She brought it on herself. Not the a-hole. She literally stole from you. Adobe is taking the heat from trying to get their stolen property back. Redunculous. Not the a-hole. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for making a deal with my mother-in-law which led to her never meeting my children? I have 3 kids, ranging from 15 to 8, and I have been happily no contact with my mother-in-law for 16 years. When I met mother-in-law, she absolutely hated me. She had been cool with past girlfriends. Everyone swore she was so nice and laid back when I wasn't around, but she despised me. She did everything she could to exclude me, and she was always taking digs. I am not the type to take the line down, and it turned nasty. I know I said things I am not proud of. My husband tried to stick up for me. He tried to set boundaries, but mother-in-law would rather be right than happy. He also tried putting her in timeout. Mother-in-law's competitive as hell, and when her timeout was over, she wouldn't answer her phone. At the time, I was too pushy for him to choose me. It was literally ripping my husband's soul out. We went on a short trip with her, and it ended with me screaming at her. My husband feeling so defeated he broke down in tears, and mother-in-law actually had a panic attack and ended up with hives. Not the first time she had a physical reaction because being around me upset her so much. It just occurred to me that we can't go on like that. The 3 of us had a long conversation about what we wanted. Mother-in-law wanted to be able to see her son without seeing me. I wanted to not put up with her crap anymore, and my husband didn't want to lose either of us. During the talk, I learned that mother-in-law was totally indifferent to having grandchildren, so I proposed a deal. Mother-in-law and dear husband could have whatever relationship they wanted outside of me. She could have her family dinners and her family pictures without having to freak out about me not being family, but she would never meet our kids. Mother-in-law was chomping at the bit. She loved it. The next year was one of the most peaceful of my life. My husband was finally happy. Mother-in-law was no longer a basket case getting physically ill over the stress, and I had my first child. Mother-in-law never once broke our agreement. She has never asked me to meet them. I'm not even sure she knows their names. My husband has lunch with her about once a week, and goes to family dinners or cookouts at her house a couple times a month. He even spends Christmas Eve with her. Recently, my 2 oldest children have expressed interest in meeting her. Honestly, I worry that it is because she has money and does a lot of cool stuff. Dear husband doesn't go on family vacations without us, but my oldest found her aunt on social media and now knows how much they travel and that mother-in-law has multiple vacation houses. We are comfortably middle class, and all of the money comes from her husband, who is sister-in-law's dad but not dear husband's. Still, we are talking it over and deciding if they would meet her. However, both my kids have told me I was selfish for striking that deal, and they feel like I used them as bargaining chips. I don't have any family on my side, and they are really mad that they missed out. Now, I don't think mother-in-law is a good person, but her life does look pretty great on social media. My kids seem really mad at me, so now I am questioning everything. Now for the comments. Everyone sucks here except your kids. This is such a messed up scenario. Your husband should have put a stop to her BS early on. He didn't, and you reacted badly. You then struck a deal that gave her what she wanted, constant and restricted access to her baby boy. I can't believe your husband is just fine with this. Your kids are in a weird spot, where their dad's family openly and regularly excludes them because his mother rationally hates you. You can't control this woman. She is scary smart, and she also believes it's okay to hurt herself as long as it means no one has power over her. No type of normal punishment or reasoning was going to work, and she had a lot of people telling her she was right. He did everything he could, and the emotional toll wasn't worth it. I'm not so sure he did. He could have distanced himself once she went off the deep end. He did. It broke his heart, and seeing him like that wasn't worth it to me. I felt that I couldn't claim to love him and then take away a big piece of who he was. You're the a-hole. In light of more information regarding Opie's role in this conflict, I think it's pretty clear she is the a-hole. Originally thought everybody sucks here. What kind of narcissistic monster demands a super close relationship with her son, but is also like, screw them grandkids? What kind of man is okay with his kids being cut off from the family he still has a super close relationship with, or allows said family to disrespect his wife? What kind of person insists her children be cut off from half their family as part of a deal to keep peace with her admittedly crappy mother-in-law? You all sound terrible. Your last point is exactly how people advise someone in a relationship where there's an abusive in-law to work things. Opie has no right to demand that her husband cut off his mother, but she has every right to refuse to be around someone who treats her with such abuse. And she has an obligation to protect her children from such an abusive person. Now, obviously, Opie shouldn't have cut off everyone in her husband's family, but it sounds like she didn't. It sounds like the other members of her mother-in-law's family are unwilling to have a relationship with her outside of their relationship with the mother-in-law. Holy crap! You left a lot out in this post. So let's get this straight. Upon meeting your mother-in-law while you were still only dating your husband, you insisted on being treated like family and tried to force your way, even call yourself pushy when you mentioned this, into the family dynamic, and got extremely bitter when she didn't want you to be her daughter after immediately meeting you? Then further down the line, you told her her parents should have ended her at 3 years old. And apparently you've done something so appalling to her that your father-in-law has tried to have you arrested. None of your in-laws will go to your house or spend time with you. They're all comfortable with this arrangement where your husband pretends to be single. Frankly, it sounds like you're a pushy, awful aggressor expected to immediately be loved as a daughter. And when that bond wasn't formed immediately, you went off the deep end of absolutely insane behavior. You're the a-hole. Last story is titled, Would I be the a-hole if I skip Mother's Day brunch with my in-laws? Background information. My husband and I are in our 30s, together for 15 years. We have one child. We live very close to his parents, who are divorced and both were married, and my mother. I am very introverted, and he is very extroverted, which is the root cause of most arguments we have. We both work full-time, so the weekends are the only uninterrupted time we have to chill and be a family. It is Mother's Day in the US this weekend. I had previously made plans with my mother for Sunday, to cook her dinner and spend some time with her. She works full-time also, so we do not see her as often. My husband asked if we could have a visit with his mom on Saturday. She's retired and we see her quite often. I don't dislike her, but she is very draining of my energy, and I do not feel relaxed or fully comfortable around her. I have been trying to be more honest about my feelings, and I told my husband that I didn't really want to do that, because it is Mother's Day weekend and I would like to spend one day relaxing with my child at home. He immediately got offended and said that I am not his mother. Why should he spend the day with just me as we do that every day? And we're celebrating my mom, and it wouldn't be fair to visit her and not his own mom. I decided he was right. I shouldn't keep him from visiting his mom on the holiday. So I said it was fine, but I did not want to host or cook. So he said that is fine. We can go out to dinner instead, as it will just be the 6 of us. Me, husband, our child, his mom, stepdad, and his sister who is single. Yesterday, he told me that mother-in-law has invited her other daughter and her husband and 4 kids to her celebration. They live out of town, and sister-in-laws also invited their stepmom and dad as to not leave them out. So now there are 14 people, and they cannot find an outside restaurant reservation for such a big group. Husband decided to offer up our house as it is the biggest yard. He said he will get carry out so I don't have to cook, but I will still have to clean up after everyone. Also, my mother-in-law always overstays her welcome, which was another reason I didn't want to have it at our house. I think my husband and child will love the party, but I will not. And I am feeling pretty offended that my husband once again steamrolled over my wishes in what is supposed to be my special day too. I'm also a mother, and let his mom call all the shots. There's not much I can do at this point except to remove myself from the situation. I thought about just going out by myself and grabbing coffee, getting a massage, etc. to try and prioritize myself, which I'm not good at doing but trying to get better. But I'm afraid this will hurt feelings and cause a fight with my husband. Would I be the a-hole if I did this? Not the a-hole. If your mother-in-law is so fond of big family gatherings, she needs to get a house big enough to host them herself. And if your husband is so fond of his mother that he prioritizes her wishes above those of his wife, then maybe he should move back in with her. I'm less of an introvert and more vengeful than you. If it were me, I'd attend a party and enjoy the takeout, but leave for the massage or other me time just as it's ending to ensure husband bears all of the cleanup duty as well. If you skip out on it entirely, you're not there to defend yourself. And I can almost guarantee the reason your husband gives everyone for your absence will not be "it's my fault." I broke a promise to her that we wouldn't burden her with a big event on Mother's Day. Oh, this idea is chef's kiss perfect. Maybe also tell everyone how sweet your husband is, since he is going to take care of everything since it's Mother's Day, so you can just relax. Not a-hole, but husband is, definitely. At least in this situation. For Father's Day, you should just skip it and tell him you're not my dad. Or invite 30 people over, get takeout and leave the mess for him to clean up later. I'm kidding. That won't solve anything. But that would be so tempting if it were me. Not a-hole. You made a compromise and he completely broke that. Also, it's Mother's Day. Why should you have to clean up after everyone? Tell him that as he invited everyone over, cleaning up is his responsibility. I will definitely have him clean up. That's a good suggestion.